The night the city went red and blue. So boom. You ever look back at one night and realize that was the fork in the road? Like there was your life before that night, and your life after it. For me, that night was the Kingsway midnight run. Back then my name on the streets was Ace. Government name, Jalen Carter. But nobody in the race scene cared about that. Out there I was just the dude with the blacked out 09G37, straight piped, tuned, duct taped bumper, and a prayer. I wasn't the fastest. I wasn't the flashiest. But I was consistent, and I didn't fold under pressure. And that consistency was the only reason I survived. 1. The debt. A month before everything went down, I made a mistake. Actually, I made about $10,000 worth of mistakes. My boy Devin had hit me with an opportunity. Ace, listen. There's this side pot on the Kingsway circuit. Not the usual Friday meet. This a backdoor race. You win, you're set. You lose, well, just don't lose. I should have heard the warning in that. But my brain just heard 10,000. Rent was behind. My mom's medical bills were stacked like Jenga blocks. My little sister had just gotten into a nursing program and needed a deposit for the semester. Every problem in my life was shaped like a bill. So I jumped in. I lost. Bad. The guy running that side pot was a tall, quiet dude everybody called Morrow. No flashy chains. No yelling. Just this cold stare like he was always calculating something. When he stepped toward me after the race, I tried to laugh it off. Yo, double or nothing, next week. I had him as fire. He held up a hand. You lost 10 bands. You've got 4 weeks. After that, the number goes up. Don't make me come looking. No yelling, no threats. Just simple math. 4 weeks went by fast. I scraped what I could, took extra shifts, did food deliveries until 3 in the morning. I sold my PS5, a chain my ex bought me, even pawned my dad's old watch. Still came up short. By the time the Kingsway midnight run came around, I was $7,000 in the hole to a man who did not repeat himself. 2. The invitation. The midnight run was different from the usual meets. This wasn't pull-up, pop hoods, talk smack, blast music type of night. This was invite only, encrypted messages. No phones out, no IG lives. If you knew, you knew. The morning of the run, I got a text from an unknown number. Unknown. Tonight's your chance to clear it. Be ready, M. Attached was a pin location, an abandoned industrial strip by the river, where all the old shipping warehouses sat like sleeping giants. I stared at that text for a solid minute. Chance to clear it. Translation, race, win, or things get bad. I sent back just one word. Bet. 3. The FBI angle. The part 1 didn't know yet. Here's what I didn't know at the time. Those shipping warehouses. They weren't just dead buildings. For months, the FBI had been running a quiet investigation into a trafficking ring that used illegal races as moving cover. Cars, trucks, and bikes would show up for the race. And while engines roared and people shouted, vans and unmarked box trucks were sliding in and out of those warehouses carrying everything they didn't want seen in daylight. Drugs, stolen tech, weapons, you name it. Morrow wasn't just a race organizer. He was a logistics manager for a criminal pipeline. And the FBI wanted him bad. They planted an undercover in the race scene 6 months earlier. Somebody we all thought was just another adrenaline junkie with a tuned Civic and a camera, Reyna. Online she went by at Boosted Lena. Always around, always quiet, always watching. Nobody suspected a thing. By the night of the midnight run, the feds had enough evidence to move. They just needed faces, confirmation, and physical product leaving the warehouse. So while we were tuning engines and checking tire pressure, the FBI was suiting up. SWAT van staged 3 blocks away. FBI mobile command center humming in a parking lot. Helicopter on standby. The city thought it was just another night. 4. Pre-race tension. Midnight found me parked under a flickering street lamp. Rain still misting from the earlier storm. The spot was carved into the bones of the old industrial district. Cracked asphalt, rusted rails, buildings with broken windows that looked like empty eye sockets. Cars lined up in a loose row, Mustangs, Supras, a couple Evos, a matte gray Hellcat that sounded like it hated the earth. The air smelled like gas, wet concrete, and nerves. Devin leaned against my passenger door, hoodie up, bouncing on his heels like he was the one about to drive. You got this, bro, he said. Run your line, don't chase their speed. Make them chase you. You win. Morrow clears that debt. You lose, we leave town, I guess. I tried to laugh, but my stomach was tight. Across the lot, I saw Morrow standing under an awning. Black coat, black hat, hands in his pockets. A couple guys stood behind him, bulked up silhouettes. Next to him, typing on her phone, was Reyna, hoodie up, camera bag slung over her shoulder. She caught me looking, and gave a small nod. I nodded back. In my head, she was just another racer with a GoPro and a dream. The type that turned everything into content. Street Kings EP42 type beat. Somebody revved a motor so loud the metal on the siding rattled. A tall dude in a neon yellow vest walked into the middle of the main stretch with a flashlight. "All right," he shouted. "Kingsway midnight run. Y'all know the rules. Lap around the river loop, under the overpass, back through the strip. First one past that line," he pointed at 2 cones, "and a chalk mark takes the pot. No crying, no fighting, no guns. We here to race," which was a straight lie, but whatever. I strapped in. My heart sank to the idle of the engine. Thump thump thump. 5. The race begins. 8 cars lined up. I was in lane 3. To my right, a bright red RX-7 with a screaming rotary. To my left, a wrapped BMW M4 with underglow that made the ground look like a video game. The starter girl walked out with a bandana in her hand, arms raised. I could hear every breath I took inside that car. The world outside the windshield narrowed to the strip of cracked pavement in front of me, and the faint glint of the river lights beyond. Bandana up. Engine screaming. Bandana down. Go. Tires lit up, smoke and noise punching the air. My car leapt forward, traction control already off, back end wiggling before hooking up. The RX-7 rocketed ahead off the line, but I knew he'd spin more. His torque curve always hit weird. First corner came fast, a sweeping left out toward the river road. The pack roared through, engines echoing between concrete walls. I dropped a gear, feathered the throttle, felt the tires bite just right. By the time we hit the straight along the river, I'd reeled in 2 cars. The Hellcat thundered ahead of everyone, brute forcing its way through with raw power. But it was heavy, sloppy in the turns. Street lights flashed overhead like a strobe effect. 60, 80, 100. The city blurred. That's when I saw the first weird thing. Up on the ridge, above the loop, there was this dark shape in the sky, hovering. Red light, white light. My brain tagged it as random news chopper, and filed it away. I had no idea it was for us. 6. The first raid. Halfway into the lap, the route curved back under an old overpass that ran near the warehouse strip. That's where things went sideways. As I shot under the concrete, a flash of blue and red exploded up ahead. Not 1, not 2. A whole wall of lights. Sirens sliced through the engine noise. For a split second, I thought it was just a couple of bored cops trying to break up the meet. Then I saw the vests. Heavy, black with yellow letters. FBI Police. SWAT. All caps, glowing in my headlights as they poured out of vans in formation, rifles up, shouting commands at a group of people on their knees in front of a warehouse. They were raiding the exact complex we had just launched from. I remember yelling out loud even though nobody could hear me. What the? 2 things happened at once. 1. The Hellcat in front of me slammed on the brakes, almost sideways. 2. A black van burst out from a side road, desperate to escape, nearly clipping my rear bumper. The van's side door slid open, and I caught a glimpse inside. Boxes, crates, a guy yelling into a radio, another holding something that looked very much like an assault rifle, pointed at nobody carefully. Then everything became chaos. Some of the racers bailed, hard right turned down a side street. Some slowed, trying not to get involved. The Hellcat panicked and tried to U-turn in the middle of the road. My instincts took over. I swerved left, shooting past the Hellcat with inches to spare. Behind me, I heard the screech of tires, a crunch of metal on metal, and then the dull, heavy boom of a car meeting concrete too fast. But I couldn't look back. 7. Death in the rearview. A second later, Devin's voice came through my Bluetooth, shouting over the background noise of the meet. "Ace, they hit the warehouse, bro. SWAT is here. You gotta?" The call cut suddenly. Static. I glanced in the rearview and saw something I'll never forget. That red RX-7 from before, the one that had launched ahead of me at the start, was now a twisted mess of metal against one of the overpass pillars. Hood crumpled, engine smoking, one wheel still spinning slowly like it hadn't figured out the race was over. No movement inside, no driver climbing out, no door opening, just stillness. I didn't know the dude personally. We'd only nodded at each other a few times at meets, but in that moment I felt it in my chest like I'd watched a homie go down. The sirens got louder. A spotlight from the helicopter swung across the road and landed directly on me, blinding. That's when the loudspeaker boomed. Black infinity, Pull the vehicle over now. My foot stayed where it was, on the gas. And just like that, the race turned into a chase. 8. The high-speed chase. If you've never had a helicopter spotlight locked onto your car, it feels like the universe picked you personally to embarrass. I dropped a gear, took the next corner harder than I should have, tires screaming as I whipped onto a side street. 2 patrol cars swung in behind me, lights and sirens shaking the night. Every alley, every back road I'd memorized from years of late-night runs flashed through my mind like a GPS from hell. I wasn't trying to be a hero. I wasn't trying to be a movie character. I was just trying not to die, or get mistaken for someone way worse than I was. My fingers dug into the steering wheel. 90, 100. The city turned into a tunnel. I sliced between 2 slower cars on the main avenue, horns blaring as I missed side mirrors by inches. Somewhere behind me, a cop car locked up its brakes, skidding to avoid smashing into a minivan. The helicopter tracked above, the spotlight bouncing off buildings, finding me again and again like it had a grudge. My brain was screaming, "You didn't do anything. You just owed money to the wrong dude." But from their perspective, midnight, illegal race, warehouse full of contraband, me fleeing the scene like I had a trunk full of bodies. I dove down an underpass, hoping the concrete would break the chopper's line of sight. The sirens Dopplered behind me. At the bottom of the ramp, the light disappeared for a second. For a few breathless heartbeats, it was just me, the echo of the engine, and the dark. I could have pulled over then. Hands up, face down on hot asphalt. Lawyer, court dates, life reset. But the panic was too loud. I saw Morrow's face in my head, remembered the red RX-7 crumpled against the pillar, and kept pushing. Bad decision number 297. 9. Cornered. I blasted out of the underpass onto 8th Street, took a sharp turn toward the old freight yards. Usually that area was empty, just stacks of shipping containers, rusted fences, and stray cats. Tonight, not so empty. I took one corner too fast and suddenly I was staring down another set of flashing lights blocking the intersection ahead. 2 more patrol cars, forming a V. I jerked the wheel, swung down a narrow access road between storage units, dead end, chain-link fence. Beyond it, the tracks, and further out, the black ribbon of the river. Behind me, the narrow road filled with red and blue. I killed the engine. For a second there was silence except for the ticking of cooling metal. A megaphone crackled. "Driver of the Black Infinity, put your hands out the window and exit the vehicle slowly." My chest felt too tight. I thought of my mom, my sister, Devin, the RX-7. I put my hands out the window. 10. The interrogation. They treated me like I was the head of the whole operation. Hands zipped behind my back. Face pressed against the hood. One officer kept yelling, "Why'd you run?" "Huh. Why'd you run?" "Because I was scared, genius." They stuffed me into the back of a cruiser and drove me not to a regular precinct, but to a federal building downtown. That's when it clicked that this wasn't some ticket-in-tow type situation. I found myself in a gray interrogation room that smelled like coffee and stale frustration. Metal table, 2 chairs, camera in the corner. I sat there in silence, wrists still cuffed in front of me, heartbeat finally slowing down enough for reality to start creeping in. I might actually go to prison. For a race. A door opened. A woman walked in. Late 30s, maybe 40. Dark suit, hair in a bun, sharp eyes that looked like they'd seen way too much. She dropped a file on the table and sat across from me. "Jalen Carter," she said. "Or do you prefer Ace?" My stomach dropped. "Who are you?" I asked, voice dry. She flipped open the folder, glanced at a page. "Special Agent Naomi Reyes. FBI period. You had an eventful evening." I tried to sound tougher than I felt. I was just racing. I didn't know about whatever you rated. She slid a photo from the folder across the table. It was a freeze frame of me pulling past the Hellcat near the warehouse raid, spotlight catching the side of my face through the windshield. Another photo, my car parked at the meet earlier, Morrow visible in the background. My head turned toward him. "That man," Reyes said, tapping Morrow's blurred figure, "is under federal investigation for multiple counts of trafficking, smuggling, and money laundering. You owe him money. You show up at his events. You flee the scene when we move on his warehouse. Help me understand why I should believe you're just some racer." I swallowed. This was bigger than I thought. "Look," I said, "I owe him money from a race. That's it. I'm not part of his whatever. I don't know anything about his business. I just drive." She studied my face for a long moment. Then she leaned back. "Funny thing about tonight," she said. "We had an undercover operative on the ground." My heart stopped. "Reyna, We were in the middle of a controlled takedown when it all went sideways. Certain parties tried to flee. One of Morrow's vans escaped the perimeter and disappeared into the city. She paused. You saw it, didn't you? I remembered the black van cutting in front of me. The crates inside. The man shouting. Yeah, I admitted. They almost hit me. Took off toward the east side, I think. I was busy trying not to die. Agent Reyes sighed, tapping her pen against the table. We're going to find that van, she said. But tonight we lost a racer on that overpass. Red Mazda, right? The RX-7 flashed in my head. He didn't make it, I asked, already knowing the answer. She shook her head. No, he didn't. And Morrow is still out there. So here's the situation, Mr. Carter. You're facing charges related to the illegal racing, evasion, and whatever else we can stack on you. But you're also a loose end in Morrow's books. You owe him money. He knows your face. That puts you in a unique position. I frowned. What are you saying? She closed the folder and folded her hands. I'm saying you can help us, or you can get crushed between us and him. I don't want a street racer's death on my conscience. I've seen enough, but I do want Morrow. I leaned back, chains clinking. Help the FBI, or get swallowed by Morrow's world. Either way, my old life was gone. 11. The offer. They moved me to a holding cell while Reyes made some calls. I paced, mind racing faster than my car ever had. An officer brought me a paper cup of water. From down the hall, I heard raised voices, door buzzers, the distant thrum of the city outside. After what felt like an hour, Reyes came back. She waved off the guard and stepped inside, holding another file. Here's the deal, she said. You help us set up one more operation. We've already disrupted a major shipment tonight. But Morrow's not an idiot. He'll shift, move the operation, close ranks. We need someone on his side who isn't actually on his side. I shook my head automatically. He'll never trust me. I owe him, and I ran from the raid. Reyes smirked. Oh, Mr. Carter, that's exactly why he'll trust you. You're desperate. She laid out the plan. Morrow still had product to move. The van that escaped the raid wasn't the only piece on the board. They suspected there was a backup site, a secondary warehouse or yard he'd use once Kingsway got hot. Within 24 hours, he'd reroute everything. They needed eyes in his circle now, before he disappeared. If I reached out, said I wanted to make things right, offered to drive, or help with whatever he needed, I might be able to draw him into the open. Or at least to a new location the FBI could hit. You'd be wired, monitored, and surrounded, Reyes said. SWAT on standby. You're bait, yes, but you'd be protected bait. I thought about that red RX-7 again. Somebody had already died for this. And if I don't? I asked. Reyes met my eyes, nothing soft in her voice. Then you go down as another faceless driver in a federal sweep. Morrow probably finds you himself eventually. Either way, you lose. I closed my eyes, exhaled slow. When I opened them, I nodded once. All right, I'll help. 12. Back into the fire. They gave me my phone back. But now it was bugged. They let me shower, change into clean clothes, and then dropped me 2 blocks from my own apartment, like nothing had happened. The sun was just starting to gray the sky. My phone buzzed almost immediately. Morrow, you made it out. I stared at the screen, thumb hovering. I typed. Me, barely. Cops almost had me. I still owe you. I want to fix it. Whatever you need move next time. I'll drive. No questions. 3 dots popped up. Stopped. Popped up again. Stopped. Finally. Morrow. Meet me tonight. Same side of town. New spot. 11 p.m. Come alone. I showed the message to Agent Reyes later that afternoon. Sitting in a nondescript van that was way too obviously federal if you knew what to look for. She nodded. He took the bait. Good. Tonight we finish this. She handed me a small device. Wire. Clip it to the underside of your shirt, center of your chest. Don't touch it, don't talk to it. Just talk normal. We'll hear you. I swallowed. What if he checks me? Then we move early, she said. But if everything goes to plan, SWAT will be ready to hit the location once we verify it's the secondary site. My palms were sweating already, and it wasn't even dark yet. 13. The final meet. Night felt like it owed somebody money. I drove to the new location Morrow sent, an old shipping yard closer to the edge of town, where the river widened, and the cranes looked like skeletons reaching for the sky. No crowd this time, no music, no lineup of cars, just a few strategically parked trucks and vans, and a handful of silhouettes smoking near a stack of crates. I pulled in slow, killed the engine. My heart thumped against the wire on my chest. Morrow stepped out from the shadows, that same black coat, same calm eyes. He looked me over, then glanced at my car. You ran, he said. No hello. No handshake. I shrugged, trying to play it cool even though my mouth was dry. I ran from the cops, I said. Not from you. He studied me for what felt like forever. Finally, he nodded once. Smart. Cops are like sharks. The moment they smell fear, they circle. You still owe me, Ace. That's why I'm here, I said. You need something moved, I'll move it. No payout, no cut. Just clear the debt and I'm out of your hair. He chuckled. Nobody ever really gets out, he said. But let's start with tonight. He gestured for me to follow. We walked between stacks of containers toward a dimly lit warehouse door. My wire felt like it weighed 10 pounds now. Inside, the place was organized chaos. Crates, pallets, guys moving boxes, scanning labels, checking manifests that definitely weren't going to any legitimate destination. In the corner, partially covered by a tarp, I saw the black van from the night before, the one that had nearly clipped me. Morrow noticed my glance. Insurance, he said. Cops took a bite last night, but they didn't close their jaws. Tonight we relocate. After that, Kingsway is done. Too hot. He led me over to a long, low crate on a dolly. We've got a convoy heading out in 20, he said. 3 vehicles, 2 decoys, 1 real. Guess which one you're driving? The real one, I said, because of course. He smiled thinly. See, you're not stupid. Behind my ribs, my heart was punching a hole through my chest. I knew every word was going back to that van where Reyes and her team listened. 3 vehicles, 2 decoys, 1 real. Convoy in 20. That was their trigger. 14. SWAT moves in. Outside, far beyond the warehouse walls, engines quietly came to life. Tactical trucks, unmarked SUVs, a SWAT transport. Teams in armored vests checked weapons, loaded up. Inside, Morrow's guys were doing their own version, arming themselves, loading magazines, holstering pistols. I helped load a crate into the trunk of a nondescript Chevy Tahoe, pretending not to notice the weight or the sounds it made when it shifted. Morrow clapped me on the shoulder. You'll be led car, he said. We roll slow at first. Keep radio chatter minimal. If we see any sign of cops, we divert to Route B. What's Route B? I asked. He smiled. The river. I did not like the sound of that at all. We queued up just outside the warehouse door. Tahoe me in front, the black van in the middle, a beat-up box truck at the rear. As the warehouse door creaked open, I caught a flash of the sky. Dark, quiet. Then, just for a split second, a tiny red dot on the roof of a nearby building. A sniper. This was it. I slid into the driver's seat, hand shaking, trying to breathe normal. The convoy rolled out. We'd barely cleared the gate when the night ripped open. 15. The raid. It happened all at once, no warning, no siren warm-up. Just a blinding flood of white light as the entire yard lit up like midday. The voice boomed from every direction at once, bouncing off metal and concrete. This is the FBI. Everyone stay where you are. Hands where we can see them. From the corners of the yard, SWAT teams surged in, black-clad figures moving in practiced waves. Flashbangs went off near the far stacks of containers, turning the world into bursts of white and thunder. Some of Morrow's guys froze. Some didn't. Gunfire exploded, sharp pops lost inside the roar. I ducked instinctively behind the Tahoe door as a window blew out above me, raining safety glass. Morrow cursed, yanking a pistol from inside his coat. For a split second, his eyes cut to me. I saw the exact moment he realized something. Not what, just something. You led them here, he hissed. I didn't, I started. He didn't wait for an explanation. He aimed at me. Time slowed. I saw his fingers start to tighten on the trigger. Before he could finish, his chest jerked sideways with the impact of a round from somewhere on the rooftop. He staggered back, eyes wide, gun clattering to the concrete. He fell. No dramatic last words. No slow monologue. Just gone. That was death number 2 in this whole mess. First the RX-7. Now Morrow. For all the lives he'd ruined, it was still jarring to watch a human being go from problem to body in a heartbeat. I dropped to my knees, hands up, yelling. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. Agents swarmed past me, barking commands at everyone else. SWAT took down the remaining shooters with practiced precision. Some of Morrow's crew threw their weapons, hitting the ground face first. Others tried to run, and were tackled into the gravel. The whole yard was sirens, and shouting and the thunk of boots on metal. In the distance, I heard the all-too-familiar thrum of a helicopter. Full circle. 16. The aftermath. They sat me on the back of an ambulance, checked my vitals, cleaned a small cut on my cheek where flying glass had nicked me. Agent Reyes appeared out of the chaos. Helmet off now, hair messy, eyes sharp. You did good, she said simply. I laughed once, shaky. Didn't feel good? She glanced over at the covered body near the warehouse, Morrow. Now just a lumpy shape under a white sheet. You helped prevent a lot more damage, she said. We recovered enough tonight to keep a lot of poison off the streets. And we have evidence. Names. Accounts. Your cooperation will be noted. I stared down at my hands, still faintly trembling. What happens to me? I asked quietly. She looked at me for a long time. You'll still face charges for the race, she said. But after tonight, after your cooperation, you're not our target. You're a witness, a very lucky one. I thought about the RX-7 again. The stillness of that wreck. Lucky. Didn't feel like it? 17. 1 year later, I didn't go to prison. Between my cooperation, the fact that I wasn't tied to any of the actual trafficking, and Agent Reyes going to bat for me, I ended up with probation, mandatory community service, and a stack of conditions longer than my arm. No more racing. No more shady meets. My license got suspended for a while. My car ended up in an impound for months before I finally got it back. And even then I looked at it different. The roar of the engine now sounded like a past life. I started working legit double shifts at a real shop that specialized in track tuning. Funny, right? I could help people go fast. I just couldn't go with them. Sometimes, late at night, I'd drive the speed limit past the old Kingsway strip. The chalk line from that night was long gone, washed away by rain and time. The warehouses we'd used were locked up, some even torn down, steel bones melted into something else. One evening I sat on the hood of my car, sipping a coffee, staring at the shadows under the overpass. I thought about the racer in the RX-7. Didn't even know his name, just his taillights. I thought about Morrow, a walking threat until he wasn't. I thought about how close I'd come to being a third body in someone else's story. My phone buzzed. A text. Unknown. You still breathing? I stared at it, then smiled slightly. Me? Yeah. Slower these days, but yeah. Unknown. Good. Try to keep it that way, NR. Agent Reyes. I pocketed the phone, looked down the empty stretch of road, and exhaled. People think adrenaline is what makes you feel alive, but sometimes, it's surviving the night you shouldn't have, and waking up to boring, quiet mornings after. That's the real high. The Kingsway Midnight Run was the last illegal race I ever touched. No more FBI floodlights. No more SWAT raids. No more high-speed chases with death in the rearview. Just me, a tuned engine, and a choice. This time, I chose to go slow. Here's part 2. Agent Reyes POV as a full storytime episode. Reyes, the night the net closed. So boom. By the time the city saw the helicopters, and read the headlines, they thought it was one wild night that erupted out of nowhere. That's the thing about raids and big busts. To the public, it's a sudden storm. To us, it's months of watching the clouds. 1. 6 months earlier. My name is Naomi Reyes, Special Agent, FBI. By the time I laid eyes on the Kingsway Strip that night, I already hated it on principle. Not because of the kids racing. I grew up around engines. My father built loiters in a cramped garage and taught me how to change my oil before I could parallel park. Street racing didn't scare me. What scared me was what always hides behind the noise. 6 months before the Kingsway Midnight Run, we got a tip. A logistics network moving high-value contraband through the city using street races as cover. It sounded stupid at first. Street racers now. One of the senior guys had grumbled in the briefing. What? Are we busting TikToks too? But the intel lined up. Same warehouse district. Same nights of the week. Same few organizers. And every time there was a big race night, certain shipments vanished from legitimate tracking. Like ghosts, we started cross-referencing. GPS pings. License plate hits. Camera feeds from nearby traffic lights. Certain patterns kept popping up around one name. Morrow. No first name in any real system. Just a long breadcrumb trail of aliases and shell companies. Freight, import, export, security, consulting. The kind of man who dressed plain, kept his head down, and made a lot of money off other people's risks. My boss slid his photo across the table in that first meeting. Middle-aged, dark coat, no smile. Eyes like a man who'd wager life in grams and decimals. This one, he said, is worth our time. We opened the case file. Operation Kingsway. 2. The undercover. You don't walk into that kind of world with a badge and a clipboard. You sneak in sideways. We needed someone who could live in those parking lots, under those flickering lamps, between the smell of gasoline and ego. Someone who could talk gear ratios like a second language, and also keep a mic clipped inside her hoodie without flinching. We had just that person. Reyna Park. Online name, At boosted Lena. I watched her file on the screen. Early 20s. Grew up in a shop like I did. Ran small-time races in high school. Got recruited after a drug bust at a street meet she happened to be filming. She reminded me of my younger self. Except I'd taken the academy route, and she'd taken the scenic back alley. We met in a nearly empty diner off the interstate. The type where the coffee is bad, but the waitress calls you hon, and keeps refilling your cup like that'll save you. Lena sat across from me, hoodie half-zipped, fingers drumming on the table. So you're the one pulling my strings, she said. Nice to finally see you're real. I won't be pulling them, I said. I'll just be making sure they don't snap. She smirked at that. We briefed for an hour. I showed her photos, Morrow, his handlers, the warehouses, the box trucks. I laid out the pattern, races on the outside, shipments on the inside. We believe, I told her, that the races are the noise. The real business happens in the dark corners. You get close to them, you get close to what we need. You want me to cozy up to the guy who launders the city, she said. Great. Does dental cover bullet removal now? We'll be watching you, I said. Every step. She snorted. Yeah, that always works out great in the movies. Despite the jokes, her eyes were sharp. She understood the stakes. She wired in. We dropped her into the strip quietly, no fanfare. Like she'd always been there. 3. Birds on a wire. The first month was nothing but waiting. People think undercover work is chases and knife fights in alleyways. Mostly, it's boredom and cheap coffee. Watching screens. Listening to low-res audio of people talking way too slowly about things that don't matter. But through all that static, patterns form. We watched Lena's footage, listened to her mic, logged every detail. Yo, you gotta see this girl's Civic. Man, Morrow's got something big coming next month. They say the warehouse near the river's hot. Got to move things quick. Bit by bit, the picture grew sharper. We learned. Morrow only showed up at certain meets. Not the small weekend kiddie races, but the big cash nights. Every time he appeared, a particular black van and at least one unmarked box truck did too. The vehicles always left within a specific window. When engines were loudest and the race crowd's attention was locked on the strip, that was the window he used to move. On the wall of our operations room, we built a timeline, pins, strings, photos. Red for races, blue for shipments, yellow for known associates. Morrow's face sat in the middle like a spider. I spent more nights in that room than I did in my own bed. My sister kept texting things like, "You alive? Mom asked about you. Don't forget Sunday dinner." I'd reply with something non-committal, then go back to my screens. Justice doesn't care about my family calendar. 4. The green light. 3 months in. Lena finally got close. Morrow started acknowledging her. First with a nod, then with a comment about her car, then with actual conversation. She sent me a transcript one night. Morrow, you film all this for fun. Lena, fun, clout, maybe a Netflix deal one day. Morrow, careful. Cameras see more than they should. Lena, only what people want me to see. The man was cautious, but he liked boldness. She knew how to give him just enough. Eventually, her mic picked up something that made everyone in the room sit straighter. Morrow, big run coming up. Kingsway. Not your usual baby races. This one matters. Unknown male, you really gonna move that much product the same night, boss? Morrow. Noise is cover. People shouting, engine screaming, nobody cares what rolls into a warehouse. We paused the audio, rewound, played it again. That was it. The pattern was about to spike. We brought in higher-ups, shared our evidence. Trafficking, smuggling, storage records we'd quietly subpoenaed. Tax anomalies. We argued for hours. Some wanted to wait longer. Build more. Get not just Morrow, but the network above him. I pushed back. He's about to consolidate, I said. Our window is now? We let it pass. He adjusts. We start over from scratch. And next time he'll be smarter. They gave me the look they give you when you're asking for a lot. Then they gave me what I asked for. Green light. We'd move on Kingsway midnight run. 5. Before the storm. The day of the run, the air in the office felt electric. We had marked map grids of the warehouse district. Live drone feeds on standby. Plate readers set to flag Morrow's known vehicles. A mobile command truck parked in a nondescript lot not far from the strip. SWAT teams kitted up and waiting for my call. I stood in front of the big board, hands on my hips, rolling my shoulders to bleed off tension. We have 3 priorities, I told the room. 1. Secure physical contraband. 2. Apprehend target. I tapped Morrow's photo alive if possible. 3. Minimize civilian casualties. There will be racers, bystanders, Kids who think this is just fast and furious live. That strip will be packed. We do not light it up unless we have to. Someone in the back raised a hand. What about the undercover? Lena's priority is survival, I said. She stays near the edge of the action when we move. She knows the signal. If things go sideways, she extracts. My boss, Special Agent Corrigan, studied me. You sure about this timing, Reyes? We've watched this pattern for months, I said. Tonight he thinks he's invisible. That's when you hit men like him. When they believe the story they built. He grunted. Then make the ending a good one. 6. Engines and static. As night fell, the screens in the mobile command center lit up with feeds. We had aerial footage from a drone, high enough not to be obvious. Street-level views from unmarked cars. Lena's mic transmitting from the crowded lot. Through her channel, we heard laughter, music, trash talk about engines and tires, and smoke the sky by the underpass. The usual. I watched the overhead view of Kingsway. Cars lined both sides of the cracked road. Spectators clustered near the starting line. Kids climbed onto old concrete barriers for a better look. Through the zoom, I saw a man step out of the shadows near one of the warehouses. Black coat. Still posture. You could almost feel the caution emanating from him. Morrow. Visual confirmation on target. The surveillance tech said. Marking. We outlined him in a faint box on the screen. Beside him, I saw Reyna, hood up, camera bag slung, playing the role perfectly. She sent 2 words over her channel, just for us. He's calm. Calm was good. Calm meant predictable. We waited. Cars lined up for the main race. Engines revved, sound peaking and crashing like waves. I watched one black Infiniti pull up, low and mean. Nothing too flashy, but tuned enough you could hear its potential. Its plate was already flagged in our system from previous nights. Registered to one Jalen Carter. We tagged him as unknown racer. No priors. Likely just a speed junkie with debt. We'd been planning to leave the small fish alone once the net closed around the shark. Funny how quickly plans change. 7. The first raid. The starter signaled. Bandana up. Bandana down. The cars launched. All units, I said into my headset. Stand by. Wait for the vans. Let the noise build. The crowd's focus tunneled onto the race. 8 cars tearing down the strip. Engine screaming. That was our cue. On another camera, we saw it. A box truck and a black van rounding the corner, headed toward the line of warehouses behind the race crowd. There, I pointed. That's the payload. SWAT Team 1 moved to intercept position. The trucks disappeared into a warehouse bay, doors sliding shut behind them. Reyes. Corrigan's voice came through. Call it. I watched as the race cars disappeared around the far bend, out on the river loop. The noise of the engines faded just enough. All units, I said. Go, go, go. SWAT trucks surged forward, engines deeper and heavier than the racers. Our unmarked cars peeled off from their idle spots, sudden purpose in their movements. On screen, the warehouse door banged open as agents in armored vests flooded in. Weapons drawn. FBI. Show me your hands. Shouts. Confusion. Boxes knocked over. Men frozen mid-lift. On the audio, we heard the chaos. Someone swearing in Spanish. Someone yelling down. Get down. Get down. So far, so good. Until it wasn't. One of our perimeter teams shouted over the channel. Reyes. Black van just broke off from the east side loading dock. It slipped past our outer cone. I snapped to the adjacent feed in time to see it. The black van. Already accelerating. Fishtailing into the road that connected back to the main loop. It almost clipped one of the racers, who was just coming around the bend. That same black Infiniti. Damn it, I hissed. Unit 3, pursue, but do not crash out civilians. That's an order. Half my focus stayed on the warehouse. Agents securing suspects. Weapons confiscated, crates opened. Drugs, firearms, illegal tech. Our evidence table would be heavy. The other half tracked that black Infiniti, and the chaos erupting under the overpass. The chase flickered across traffic cams, the Infiniti slipping past a panicked Hellcat, the red RX-7 losing control behind them. Then the sickening, silent image of it smashing into a concrete pillar at speed. The room went quiet for a second. You get used to paperwork about death in this job. 1 fatality, deceased male, approximately 25 to 30. You never get used to watching it happen. Status on the driver, I asked, even though I knew. M's en route, someone said tightly. No movement in the vehicle. I stared at the frozen frame on the monitor. Metal folded where a person used to be. A civilian, caught in the crossfire of our perfect storm. My jaw clenched. Log it, I said quietly. We own that. 8. The runner? The infinity didn't slow down. Through camera hops, we watched it, breaking away from the scene, diving into side streets, helicopter spotlights catching it in cones of harsh light, patrol units trying to box it in and failing, not because they were incompetent, but because panic is a hell of a fuel. Black infinity. This is your last warning, an officer barked over the loudspeaker. Pull over now. The driver didn't. I could practically feel his adrenaline from my chair. He's not our target, one of my colleagues said. He's just some idiot racer. He's also fleeing a federal raid at speed, Corrigan said. That makes him our problem too. I rubbed my temples. I didn't want another body. Instruct them to box, not pit, I said. I don't want him dead. I want him in an interview chair. 10 tense minutes later, that's exactly where he ended up. I watched from the observation room, behind one-way glass, as they sat him down. Young, sweaty, eyes wide, but not the dead, flat eyes of someone who'd already sold their soul. More like a kid who'd taken a wrong turn onto a highway with no exits. Jalen Carter. Street name, Ace. They uncuffed one of his hands, left the other attached to the table. Policy. His file sat in front of me, thin compared to Morrow's. What are you thinking? Corrigan asked. I'm thinking he's scared, I said. And I'm thinking scared people can be useful. He gestured toward the door. Then go make him useful. 9. Ace on the line. Interrogations are like races. People think they're about speed, questions, answers, accusations. They're really about pacing. I walked in, dropped his file on the table, and sat down. He stared at me, jaw clenched. Jalen Carter, I said. Or do you prefer Ace? His eyes flickered. There it was, the instant of wondering how much we already knew. Who are you? He asked. Special Agent Naomi Reyes, FBI. I laid out the photos. Morrow. The warehouses. The van. The blurred shot of Ace's car near the raid. You were at an illegal race, I said. At the same time a major trafficking operation was using that race as cover. You fled a federal perimeter. You almost caused a second crash while doing it. You're in deep trouble. He swallowed. I was just racing, he said. I didn't know about any of that. No. I slid another photo toward him. Grainy surveillance of him, and Morrow in the same frame, from a previous night. You owe this man money. You show up to his events. You run when things get hot. Help me understand, Ace. His shoulders slumped a fraction. That's when I knew he was salvageable, because the bravado cracked. He told me about the races, about the debt, about losing a big side pot he shouldn't have taken, about Morrow giving him a clock, and a number he couldn't meet. Not once did he posture, or claim to be something he wasn't. I owe him $7,000, he said. I don't move his drugs. I don't touch his guns. I barely keep my car running. I just drive. I believed him. That didn't make him innocent, he'd still run. Someone was still dead on that overpass. Actions have gravity. But he wasn't Morrow. He was orbiting Morrow. Sometimes that's all you need. 10. 2 storms, 1 rock. After the interview, I stepped back into the observation room. He's a debt case, I said. Not an associate. Not yet. And from Morrow's point of view, that might make him more useful than half the men on his payroll. Because he's desperate, Corrigan said. Because he needs both of us to survive, I corrected. I outlined the plan as it formed. 1. We let Ace see the edge of the cliff, charges, possible time. The mess he was in. 2. We offer him a rope, but not for free. 3. He reaches out tomorrow, offers to fix his debt by working a job. 4. We bug him, track him, and use him to locate Morrow's secondary operation. We already knew last night wasn't the end. Men like Morrow don't bet everything on one warehouse. There's always a backup site, a fallback channel. We needed its location. You're putting a street racer between us, and a man who kills for efficiency, Corrigan said. You sure he won't fold? Or, he'll fold, I said. That's the point. He'll fold toward the path he thinks gives him the best chance to wake up tomorrow. And you're sure that's us? I looked through the glass at Ace, sitting alone now, breathing hard, staring at his cuffed wrist like he was bargaining with his own shadow. He watched someone die earlier, I said. Trust me. Prison sounds a lot better to him than a bullet. Corrigan grunted. All right, he's your rock. Don't drop him on your own feet. 11. The Wire. We gave Ace a choice. Help us. And we put in a word with the U.S. Attorney. We differentiate between kid with bad decisions and criminal architect. We still hold him accountable. But we don't bury him alive. Or stay silent, and get ground between Morrow's paranoia and federal charges. He took the deal. Of course he did. On the way out, as I handed him back his phone, I clipped the wire to his shirt myself. Small disc, center of his chest. Induction mic, low profile. Don't touch it, I told him. Don't tap it. Don't talk into it like it's a movie. Just live. Talk like you normally do. We'll hear everything. What if he gets suspicious? He asked. Then we move early, I said. And you get down, you stay down, and you let us do our job. And if you're late, we won't be. I said it like a promise. You never say we'll try to someone you're using as live bait. He nodded, throat bobbing. Okay. I watched him go. I've sent people out wired before. It never gets easier. Every time it feels like you're pressing a loaded gun into someone's hand. Except the barrel is pointed at them. 12. The new yard? We tracked Ace's phone as he drove across town that night. On the screen, a blue dot crawled toward the river edge. Then settled in an old shipping yard we'd suspected, but hadn't confirmed. Cranes, containers, rusted fences. Great place to hide things you don't want seen. In the mobile command truck, my team clustered around the monitors. New location confirmed, the text said, pinging all known device IDs in the area. Ah, there he was. Morrow's digital ghost blipped into existence near one warehouse cluster. A burner phone we'd fingerprinted weeks ago. We got him, I murmured. On the audio feed, we heard it. Ace and Morrow face to face. Morrow, you ran. Ace, I ran from the cops. Not from you. Morrow, smart. Cops smell fear. You still owe me. Ace, that's why I'm here. Whatever you need move next time, I'll drive. I glanced at the others. He's selling it, someone said. Morrow laid it out. 3 vehicles, 2 decoys, 1 real. Convoy moving in 20. That was our window. All SWAT teams, I said into my mic. Stand by. Do not engage until we have full visual on convoy and positive ID on target. I watched Ace follow Morrow deeper into the yard, the audio bouncing with each step. He was trying to sound steady. He wasn't. You learn to hear the tremor in people's breathing. 13. Lining up the shot. The convoy pulled to the warehouse door. On the drone feed we saw a Chevy Tahoe up front, the familiar black van in the middle, a box truck in the rear. Ace slid into the driver's seat of the Tahoe. Lead car, I said. Of course. Morrow wants him in front. If cops show up, the kid hits them first. You gonna let that happen? Corrigan asked. No, I said quietly. We're going to make sure the only thing they hit is the end of their careers. The warehouse door began to roll up. I lifted the radio. All units, on my mark, we light them up. Floodlights, loud hailers, full show. We want them stunned, not confused. On 3. My heart rate picked up, but my voice stayed level. 1, 2, 3, 14. The net closes. The yard erupted in white. Floodlights from all sides. Spotlights from the sky. Voices amplified. This is the FBI. Everyone stay where you are. Hands where we can see them. Through the drone cam, we watched chaos bloom. Men reaching for weapons. Others freezing. Someone tripping over a crate and going down hard. The Tahoe door flew open, and I saw Ace dive behind it. Hands up. Smart enough not to play hero. Morrow, on the other hand, did exactly what men, like him, always do when the story they wrote about themselves starts to unravel. He reached for control. In this case, a pistol. Weapon. Weapon. One of the rooftop snipers called out. I have visual on armed suspect. The feed zoomed in. There was Morrow, gun in hand, turning toward the nearest threat. For a split second, his eyes cut toward Ace. I swear I could read the thought on his face. You did this? He brought the gun up. I didn't even have time to say wait. The sniper took the shot. On the monitor, Morrow jerked, then dropped, gun clattering away. Just like that, one of the most careful men I'd ever hunted was just another covered shape on the ground. There was no satisfaction in it. Only relief, and an inventory of all the questions we'd never get to ask. Suspect down, the sniper said. Weapon recovered. No further shots fired. All units, maintain posture, I ordered. Sweep, secure, and watch for any secondaries. Nobody gets trigger happy. We've had enough blood for one operation. Inside the warehouse, SWAT took down the remaining holdouts. Outside, suspects lined up on their knees, hands on their heads. Agents moving into cuff. From the ambulance feed, I saw Ace sitting on the bumper, shaking, a paramedic checking a cut on his cheek. Still breathing, I exhaled slowly for what felt like the first time that night. 15. The cost. By dawn, the yard was a crime scene in full bloom. Numbered markers, evidence bags, the low murmur of tired voices giving statements. I walked past pallets we'd catalog later, weapons, bricks wrapped in plastic, crates of stolen electronics. On the far side, a sheet-covered body lay near the warehouse. Morrow, one of his hands stuck out from under the blanket, fingers still slightly curled. I paused. You learn not to humanize certain targets too much in this job. You won't be able to do what's necessary if you start imagining their childhood photos. But I still felt that old, familiar weight. Another life ended. Necessary or not, the ledger never feels clean. You all right? Corrigan asked, coming up beside me. We got what we came for, I said. Mostly. Not enough for you. I would have liked him breathing. People talk more that way. Corrigan huffed. His operation is dismantled. We'll flip half his men. We have product, financial records, roots. You did good, Reyes. Good in this line of work is always relative. Good compared to what? Compared to the RX-7 we'd watch die on that overpass. To the kids who would never see the drugs on this yard now. Because we'd taken them. The scale in my head never sits perfectly level. It just tilts a little less some days. 16. The deal? Later that morning, I found Ace sitting alone near the ambulance, wrapped in a blanket he didn't really need anymore. He looked up as I approached. So, he said bleakly, did I do what you needed? You did your part, I said. We found the second yard. We stopped a lot of people from getting hurt. That black van you almost died avoiding last night. We have it now. And everything in it. He nodded, staring at his shoes. And him? He asked. Morrow is dead, I said plainly. No sugarcoating. He drew a weapon. My sniper took the shot. Ace swallowed. I kind of thought he was, I don't know, untouchable. Everyone's touchable, I said. Some are just more expensive paperwork. He gave a weak laugh at that. I sat beside him on the bumper. Here's how this goes, I said. You're still going to face charges. You ran from a federal raid. You participated in illegal races that caused real harm. A man died last night. That doesn't vanish. I know, he said quietly. I saw the RX-7 hit that pillar. But, I continued, we have something to say to the people who'll be deciding what happens to you. And what we say matters. He looked at me, hope flickering and terrified of itself. We'll make it very clear, I said, that you cooperated, that you put yourself in the middle of something ugly so we could end it. That you are not Morrow. You're a kid who made bad bets. Not a man who built an empire on poison. A tear tracked down his cheek. He scrubbed it away angrily. I didn't. I never wanted anybody to die. Then let this be the last night your choices run other people off the road, I said. You get a chance now most people under that sheet don't. Use it. He nodded, jaw tight. What happens now? He asked. Now you get processed, I said. You'll talk to lawyers. You'll probably hate every room you're in for a while. But one day, you'll walk out. What you do after that, that's on you. He stared out at the yard, the trucks, the crates, the agents moving like ants around the debris of someone's empire. I think I'm done racing, he said. You're not done driving, I said. You just need better destinations. 17. 1 year later, a year after Kingsway, the city had almost forgotten. Headlines moved on. New scandals, new storms. The old warehouse strip was quieter now, fewer meets, more cameras, more security. My case file, once a living beast that sprawled across multiple boards, had been condensed into neatly bound stacks for trial. Photos, statements, manifests. A story told in evidence tags. We'd flipped several of Morrow's lieutenants. Got names, accounts, offshore leads. The network above him took a hit. Not a decapitation, not yet, but a deep wound. You learn to accept incremental justice in this job. One evening, after a long day of testimony prep, I sat at my desk, staring at the Kingsway file label. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost ignored it. Then I answered. Reyes. A familiar voice came through, hesitant. Special Agent Reyes. It's Jalen. Ace. I don't know what you call me in your book. I sat up a little. Carter, I said. You're not supposed to be calling me directly. I know, he said quickly. I'm not calling for anything big. I had court today. That got my attention. Anne, I asked. The judge went with your recommendation, he said. Probation. Community service. No prison. I just wanted to say, thanks, I guess. I leaned back, eyes on the ceiling. We don't often get follow-ups. People leave our orbit, and we only see them again if they fall back into gravity. Don't thank me, I said. Thank the part of you that decided not to play tough in that chair. He chuckled weakly. Yeah, well, I'm working at a legit shop now. The owner knows most of the story. Keeps an eye on me. Says I've got good hands, bad history. Sounds like my first supervisor, I said. We sat in silence a moment. Hey, Agent Reyes, he said finally. Yeah, do you ever stop thinking about that night? He asked. The RX-7 flashed in my mind. The overpass. The sheet over Morrow's body. The echo of floodlights in my dreams. No, I said honestly, but it gets quieter. and you learn to build something in the space it leaves behind. Yeah, he said softly. I'm trying. That's all anyone can ask, Carter, I said. Make sure the second half of your story doesn't look like the first. He exhaled. I'll do my best. Stay safe out there, Agent Reyes. You too, I said, and stay off my traffic cams. He laughed, then hung up. I stared at my phone for a long moment, then set it down atop the Kingsway file. The world would never know the whole story. To them, it was just another headline: FBI. SWAT shut down trafficking ring tied to illegal street races. But I knew the smaller truths. The kid who pulled a car out of the line of fire and, in doing so, dragged himself into mine. The undercover who walked out of a world she once thought was her future. The man who thought noise and speed could hide his crimes, until floodlights turned night into confession. Operation Kingsway was over. There would be other storms, other warehouses, other morotypes, other kids who thought burning rubber was the only way to leave a mark. But on that strip of cracked asphalt and concrete pillars, on that one brutal night, we'd shifted the trajectory, even if just a few degrees. Sometimes that's enough. Sometimes 1 degree is the difference between a life wrecked against a pillar and a life that finally learns to turn the wheel. Dark Sunglasses, Kingsway, Episode 3, The Night the Board Tilted. Future Reyna, years later. People think Kingsway turned overnight. They point to fires, arrests, one big headline like that's when it all changed. They're wrong. The real turn was quieter. No sirens, no shootouts, just rain on Rosemont, one bad break-in, and a guy named Ace trying to keep the board from flipping. I was a kid then. I didn't know the details. But later, when I started piecing things together, old case files, street stories, and his voice in my head, this night kept showing up. Every time I zoomed out, there it was. The night the board tilted. Ace, Rosie's on Rosemont. The first mistake of the night was the coffee. It was burnt, sour, the kind you only drink if you're too tired to care, or too broke to walk out. I was neither. So the cup just sat there, cooling in front of me while rain slapped the windows of Rosie's diner. The neon sign outside flickered ROSEs in red, like the I had given up already. I had the corner booth facing the door. Habit, back against the wall, hood half up, headphones around my neck with nothing playing. Phone on the table, screen down, buzz on silent. It still wouldn't shut up. Marco, missed call 7. Marco, missed call 8. I let it vibrate until it gave up each time. Marco was chaos in human form. The kind of dude who could turn a grocery run into a felony, just by existing near it. The bell over the door jingled. Cold air and wet noise rolled in with Izzy. He shook rain off his jacket, nodded at the waitress, and slid into the booth across from me without asking. You really ignoring him? He said, eyes cutting to my phone. Marco, I said. Yeah, if I answer fast, he thinks we're in a relationship. Izzy huffed out a laugh, but his knee was bouncing under the table. Not a good sign. He hit my line too. Izzy leaned forward, voice low. He ain't doing that, I'm broke wine. He's in that I think I'm about to die register. I watched him for a second. Where? I asked. Rosemont, he said. Back of the strip by the liquor store and the busted laundromat. My jaw tightened. Rosemont was a street. But Rosemont and 12th. That corner belonged to Dale. You don't just end up nervous on another man's corner by accident. What's he say he did? I asked. Izzy chewed the inside of his cheek before answering. Remember that car I told you about? He said. The one backed up to the fence behind the liquor store. Camera blind spot. Plates swapped out every few weeks. The stash car, I said. Yeah, what about it? He broke into it. The words thudded between us like someone dropped a brick on the table. I didn't say anything, just stared at him until he kept going. He thought it was sweet. Ace, Izzy said. He told me. It's been sitting there forever, nobody watching it. Door popped easy. He grabbed a bag. How many bags? I said. 1, Izzy replied. And there was a phone in there too. Looked important. He took that. My brain started laying out the board without asking me first. Vale. Quiet old head with military posture. Lives on rules and structure. Stash car behind his liquor store. Phone inside the stash. Phone means contacts, messages, leverage. Phone means this isn't just about dope and cash. And now Dale's hearing his car got hit, I said. And people who don't know the full story are saying my name. 'Cause I'm the only one who ever told him his security was sloppy. Izzy nodded, eyes dropping. I heard your name twice before I even got to the diner, he said. People like, you think Ace finally made a move on the old man. You know how rumors get cardio. My phone lit again. Marco incoming call. I let it ring once, twice, then answered. Phone call. Ace and Marco. What? I said. No hello. Ace bro, thank God. Listen, I messed up, I really. You usually do. I cut in. What's special about tonight? I ain't know it was that dude's car. Swear to God, he babbled. Door was open a little? He was in there, man. I thought it was some drunk fool from the bar. You're talking too much, I said. Tell me what you took. Just one bag, he said quickly. And a phone. That's it. I ain't opened nothing. Soon as I stepped out the alley, I felt weird. I called you. Where are you? I asked. Behind the laundromat on Rosemont, he said. By the back door with the camera. I'm just sitting in the dark. I ain't moved. I know I messed up, Ace. I just didn't want to throw it in the trash, or run with it for talking to you. Anybody see you go in the car? I asked. I don't think so, he said. It was raining so hard I could barely see myself. Cameras though. We all went quiet. Cameras. Phones. Other people's corners. That's how bodies disappear, and nobody files a missing report worth reading. You got the bag and the phone on you right now. I said. Yes. Turn the phone off if it's still on, I said. Don't push anything else. Don't poke it, don't scroll it, don't breathe on it funny. It's off, he said. Battery was on like 60. I hit power, that's it. Good, I said. Now listen careful. You don't move. You don't leave. You don't try to make side deals. You don't apologize to anyone but me. Yes, sir, he said, voice small. You coming? I'll be there in 20, I said. If anyone gets there before me. He swallowed. I could hear it through the line. You don't know my name, I said. Got it. I hung up. Chess on the table. Izzy watched me. You walking into it? He asked. I already did, I said. Soon as he made that call to me, my name's in play. I just get to decide how it shows up. I tapped the table once. Options laid themselves out. 1. Ignore it. Hope Dale believes I'm not involved. He won't. 2. Call Dale first. Admit the hit. Hand Marco over. Hope the old man is in a merciful mood. He's not. 3. Call the cops. Let blue uniforms crash everything and bury my name under paperwork. They'll take the dope, the phone, and still write me in as source unknown. 4. Balance it myself. Return what was taken. Protect the idiot, just enough to keep my own line clear. Make sure someone wearing a badge sees the shape of what almost happened, without seeing the whole picture. I already hated the 4th option, which meant it was the right one. Izzy must have read it on my face. You thinking about her? He said. Who? I said, even though I knew. That fed with the tired eyes, he said. Reyes. The one who be parked 2 blocks off everything like she's not obvious. I pulled out the clean phone. Different number. Smaller contact list. 1 label. ER. You really about to invite her in? Izzy asked. I'm about to stop everybody from overreacting, I said. Including her. I typed. 2. ER heads up. Stash car got hit behind Rosemont Liquor by an idiot who doesn't work for me. I'm cleaning it up 30 to 45 minutes. Don't send a parade. I stared at it a second. The more Reyes knew, the more she saw me as something she could use. The less she knew, the more she'd come kicking doors when rumors reached her without context. I hit send. The reply was fast. ER, which idiot? I smirked a little. The kind whose name doesn't matter if I do this right, I texted back. Trust me or don't. Just don't let uniform spook trigger fingers tonight. 3 dots flashed, vanished. No more replies. That our backup? Izzy asked. That's our witness, I said. If this goes bad, I need at least one person with a report that doesn't sound like a bedtime story. I tossed cash on the table for untouched coffee. Let's move, I said. Lights off when we get close. We're ghosts tonight. Reyes, watching the weather. 2 blocks away, Agent Elena Reyes watched rain snake down her windshield like it was trying to write something. Her unmarked sedan hummed quietly. Laptop screen dim on the passenger seat, half a report waiting for lies. Her phone buzzed with my text. She read it. Felt her jaw tighten. A stash car hit on Rosemont. Ace involved. Cleaning it up. She could have. Called it in. Brought 2 cars, maybe the tactical van. Written good faith response into her memo later. Instead, she turned her radio down. Not off. Just low enough that if someone screamed outside, she'd hear that first. She texted once, and got her non-answer back. Typical. Reyes checked her mirrors, then pulled out. If she was going to be there, she'd rather get there before things pop than show up to a scene and another chalk outline. All right, Ace, she muttered. Show me what cleaning it up looks like. Back of the laundromat. We cut our lights 2 turns out and rolled slow behind the strip. The back of the laundromat looked like every bad memory the building ever had got stuck in the brick. Faded tags, rust down the drainage pipe, one cheap security camera above the steel back door, blinking red like it was inconvenienced. Marco was exactly where he said he'd be. Hood up, arms folded, back pressed to the wall like he was trying to blend into the cinder blocks. When he saw our car, relief hit his face so hard it looked painful. Stay in, I told Izzy. Engine on. If I wave twice, you pull out. Don't wait for me. Don't be a hero. For real? He asked. For real. I stepped out into the rain. Marco started talking before I even reached him. Ace bro, I swear. I didn't know it was. Stop, I said. Breathe through your nose before you pass out. He shut up. Kind of. The bag, I said. Show me. He pointed at the duffel at his feet. Big, black, ugly. I crouched, unzipped it just enough to peek. Neat product. Same wrapping I'd seen floating through the city for years. Someone's brand. Someone's mortgage payment. Someone's reason to start a war. And tucked to the side, almost polite, was the phone. Black. Smart. Quiet. You turned that off yourself? I asked. Yeah, he said, soon as I left the alley. No swiping, no nothing. Just power button till the screen went black. How long were you in the car? I asked. Maybe 30 seconds, he said. Door was already popped. Nobody around. I reached, grabbed the bag from under the seat, saw the phone, grabbed that too, dipped out. Phone under the seat. Meant to be hidden. Not just tossed around. This wasn't just stash inventory. This was coordination. Schedule. Contacts. In the wrong hands. That phone breaks 3 different people at once. All right, I said. Listen carefully, because this is the last favor you get in this kind of life. He nodded fast, rain dripping off his eyelashes. You're done, I said. After tonight, you're out of anything that looks like a move. You're strictly 9 to 5, time card, W-2 type. You call me about a play again, I won't answer. Ever. Clear. Yes, he said. Whatever you say. I'm done. I don't want it. I don't even like it. I just... Good. I cut in. Because you almost traded your whole life for one bag, and a phone that isn't yours. Headlights washed the alley over my shoulder. We both turned. Dale's entrance. The SUV rolled in low and slow. Tint dark enough to make it feel like a thought, not a vehicle. It stopped a few yards away. Doors opened in sequence. First the passenger rear, one of Dale's younger guys, hood up, scanning. Then the front passenger, another, heavier, eyes mean. Then the back driver's side. Dale stepped out like the rain was not important enough to rush him. He didn't wear a hood. Just a dark jacket, beard trimmed, eyes alert but not wild. Ex-military, all over his posture. Ace, he said, no surprise in his voice. That bothered me. He'd expected this. Evening, I said. Rain made my head feel heavier. His gaze slid to the duffel. So, he said, this what your warnings were about. You told me one day somebody would try my car. I thought you meant them. He jerked his chin at the rest of the city. Not your people. My people didn't plan this, I said. My people are the reason you're looking at a full bag and a live idiot instead of security camera footage and a funeral. Dale's eyes moved to Marco. Come here, he said. Marco froze. I nudged him forward with a look. He shuffled over, shoulders curved in. You touched my car? Dale asked. Yes, sir, Marco said, voice shaking. I didn't know it was yours, I swear. Door was already cracked, and... Dale lifted a hand. Marco's words died. Did you open the bag? Dale asked. No. The phone? No, sir. Turned it off only. Didn't scroll nothing? Dale studied him, the way you'd study a loose wire. You got a death wish? He asked calmly. Marco's eyes glossed wet. No, sir. Then why you stealing from strangers in a city where strangers get buried the fastest? He asked. Marco didn't have an answer. Dale's gaze came back to me. And you, he said. Why are you standing between me and consequences that might teach him something? Because the consequences don't stop at him, I said. They spill onto sidewalks. They crash into nights that had nothing to do with this. They drag your name, my name, and a lot of innocent people's names into paperwork they didn't ask for. One of his younger guys shifted, annoyed. That sounds like speeches, he muttered. That sounds like math, I said. You lose a bag and a phone, your paranoia goes up, your crew gets jumpy. You start seeing threats in every shadow. A week later somebody dead over a rumor that started tonight. Or, I nodded at the duffel. You leave with what's yours, you know exactly who touched it. And you know who put it back without adding anything extra to the story. I stepped aside so he could see the bag clearly. Dale let the rain's noise fill the silence. Then he stepped up, crouched, and opened the duffel himself. He checked the wrapping, checked the count, found the phone, turned it in his hand, looked at me. "You didn't peek?" he asked. "If I wanted to know your business," I said, "I wouldn't be handing it back." He smirked, just barely. "You already know enough," he said. "Whole city talk like you got a file cabinet where your heart is." "My heart's cheaper than that," I said. "File cabinets cost money." One of his guys snorted. The tension cracked half a degree. Dale zipped the bag, then looked at Marco again. "Pick it up," he told him. Marco blinked. "Me?" "Yes, you," Dale said. "You stole it. You can carry it back to where it belongs." Marco lifted the bag with both hands, arms straining. "If he runs?" the heavier guy asked. "He won't," Dale said. "'Cause he's just now understanding he almost died over something he didn't even enjoy." He turned back to me. "You sure this isn't some long con?" Dale asked quietly. "You get my trust tonight so you can cut my throat later." "If I wanted your throat," I said, "I wouldn't have texted a Fed before I came here." His eyes sharpened. "You did what?" he asked. "She's nearby," I said simply, "watching the weather. If this turned into a balloon situation with 10 cars and 30 witnesses, your name and mine both land on her desk eventually. I prefer she sees we tried to keep it small." His jaw flexed. "You brought law near my lane." "Law was always near your lane," I said. "I just made sure they saw the cleanest version of tonight, instead of the messier one." He stared at me for a long second, then looked past me. At the mouth of the alley, an unmarked sedan rolled by slow. It didn't turn in. It didn't flash lights. It just passed. But I caught the profile in the driver's seat. Reyes. Watching. Clocking faces. Recording body language nobody else cared about. Dale clicked his tongue. "You and your invisible friends," he said. "One day that's gonna catch up to you." "One day everything will," I said. "Tonight isn't that day." He gave a small nod. "Decision made." He jerked his chin at Marco. "Bring it," he said. His guys flanked Marco, guiding him, and the bag, toward the SUV. Marco looked back at me once, panic still in his eyes. I nodded once. "Walk." They loaded the bag into the back. Dale stood there a moment longer. "You keep him," he said suddenly. Marco froze halfway into the SUV. "What?" I asked. "Cut him off," Dale said. "He's loud luck. I don't want him near my operations again. He ever breathes on my property, there'll be no meeting in the rain. Just a van, a trunk, and a rumor." Marco stumbled back out of the SUV like someone yanked him on strings. "Thank you," I said simply. "Don't," Dale replied. "You just made yourself more responsible for him than me. That ain't a blessing." He climbed in. Door shut. SUV rolled out, taillights fading into the rain. Fall out in the alley. It was quiet again. Just the laundromat, the camera light blinking, the smell of wet trash, and the three of us. Marco exhaled like he'd been underwater for 10 minutes. "I thought he was gonna." "I did too," I said. "That's the problem." He swallowed. "What now?" he asked. "Now you're done," I said. "You find a job where the worst thing that happens is a rude customer, or somebody eats your lunch from the fridge. You don't chase bags you didn't earn. You don't linger on corners that don't know your face." "And if I don't?" he asked, testing the edges. I stepped closer. "Then next time, I won't answer the phone," I said. "And the city will handle you how it handles loose ends." He nodded fast. "Go," I said. "Cut through the side street, hit the main road. Blend in with the people who made better choices tonight." He pulled up his hood and left without looking back. Izzy rolled closer with the car, window cracked. "That was tight," he said. "Thought I was gonna have to peel out with you on the hood." "Me too," I said lightly. "Let's go before the next genius decides this alley is destiny." We got in. The city kept raining. Reyes, the report she didn't file. 3 blocks away, Reyes watched our car pass under a streetlight. She saw Marco walking alone, hood up, empty-handed, moving like someone who just visited the edge of something. An SUV already gone. One camera blinking over a back door. Her phone buzzed. Ace, board steady. Pieces still on. No cleanup needed. She stared at the message. There were 100 ways she could be mad at me. For not calling her first. For handling it off book. For using her as a shadow witness instead of a partner. Instead, she typed, "This doesn't make you a hero. It just makes you visible." I replied, "I've been visible. You just started paying attention." 3 dots. Then nothing. Reyes looked at the dark alley, the laundromat, the camera. She could call it in now, start an investigation, go fishing. Or she could log this under the growing file that said, "Ace, interesting variable. Doesn't like bodies. Keeps circles from collapsing. Motivation unknown." She put the car in drive. "Not tonight," she said to nobody, and rolled back into the rain. Future Reyna, years later, when people talk about Kingsway now, they talk about big nights. The night the block lit up. The night the task force rolled in. The night the news finally learned our zip code. But when you rewind the tapes, really rewind them, and you look for where the balance actually shifted, you end up right back here. A stolen bag. A phone that almost changed hands. A man in a hoodie choosing to give it back instead of cashing it in. A Fed who watched from the dark instead of kicking the door. A kid named Marco who walked away soaked but breathing. That's the thing about chess nights. They don't look loud. They look like nothing happened. But after that, nobody moved the same again. End. Kingsway, Episode 3. The night the board tilted.